Right now, though, what we're going to be talking about, something, I'll be honest here. When I first started hearing about COVID-19 variants early on, I thought, oh boy, no. I literally acted like a child and plugged my ears. La, 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 la. You don't exist. I don't hear. I don't want to talk about it. If I don't talk about it, it won't happen. We're hearing more and more about it now, and I think it's just time we kind of face it. We're seeing some scary headlines. COVID-19 variants, how worried should we be about them? Joining us on the phone right now is epidemiologist and associate professor at the Faculty of Health Sciences, University of Ottawa, Raywat Deonandan. Morning. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning.
So I've quoted you a few times as we entered 2021. I recall you saying back in February, March, as we enter, it was like entering into the gates of hell. I knew it was going to be tough. But one thing you said about a week ago, you compared the COVID battle to an action film in 3 parts. And the third act is when our heroes fight the biggest foe. It's when the dawn is near, but the big crisis must be overcome. Is that where we are right now in the battle with COVID, would you say?
Wow, you have remembered my words very carefully. I'm deeply impressed and we're concerned about that. Yeah, that's where we are. We're at the beginning of that final battle. And we're seeing the numbers today in Ontario, we're over 2,000 cases. The third wave might be the worst. It might be. It's hard to understand, right? Because it feels like things are getting better. And now people are telling us that it's going to be worse than that second wave, which is so brutal.
Yeah.
But yeah, so because the new variants, as you point out, are so hyper-transmissible, and they seem to be overcoming our best mitigation efforts, and they might even be more lethal.
Wow, that's what I was going to ask you. You have a little variant 101. What makes a variant a variant? And is development of variants normal virus behavior? Like, why does it happen? Is it kind of the virus getting smarter?
Okay, so the more transmission you have, the more people becoming infected, the more opportunities for mutation. Mutations happen all the time. In your body and mine right now, some cells are reproducing incorrectly. Most mutations are not beneficial and they will die because they're not good. Occasionally a mutation happens that is beneficial to the thing being mutating, so it can survive longer and so forth. In virus terminology, we have different strains of the virus, like the SARS-1 versus SARS-CoV-2 are different strains of the coronavirus. And when a mutation happens on a protein here or there, sometimes that's sufficient to render that new virus a variant of the strain. So we have strains, we have mutations, strains, and variants. So that's what's happening here. The more people are becoming infected, the more opportunities for variants to emerge. Now, that doesn't mean that these variants are necessarily more harmful, but some will be. So there are literally scores of variants around the world. Some are VOCs, variants of concern, meaning public health determined these are ones we should look out for. And in Canada, we only care about 3 of them right now: B117, the so-called UK variant, B1351, the South African variant, and P1, the Brazilian variant. And we're concerned about them because of their characteristics. The mutations that are happening are on the so-called spike protein, which is like this thing that covers the virus that allows it to gain entry into our cells. And these mutations are happening such that the spike protein creates a more snug, intimate connection with the cell that allows easier entry. It's as simple as that. So you need fewer viruses to achieve infection. You need lesser time to achieve infection. Now, some of these, like B117, hypertransmissible, maybe even more lethal, probably is. B1351, the South African one, hypertransmissible and can avoid our immune system more so less able for us to fight it off. P1 may not be hypertransmissible, but can evade our immune system and may cause a reinfection. Yeah. So, and eventually we're going to get a variant that can escape the vaccines as well. Eventually, that will happen. Right. I'm not overly worried about that right now because our vaccine technology is pretty good, and we can produce, a booster shot against new variants when we need to.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Will manufacturers change the vaccines in response to variants, kind of like the flu shot? And do we know yet, sorry to double question you here, do we know yet if this is going to be a yearly shot, or is it kind of a one round and done type deal with the COVID-19 vaccines?
Excellent questions. So the mRNA vaccines can be produced in 48 hours. So the second we have a new virus, we sequence the genome, 48 hours later we have a new vaccine in the lab specific to that variant. And then 2 to 6 weeks to put that in production. So we will win the arms race. And what we can foresee is that a booster shot would include elements of COVID classic, as I call it, and maybe even the new variants. We call these multivalent vaccines. They are amenable to a variety of targets on the virus. We have multivalent vaccines already, or MMR vaccines for measles, mumps, and rubella. It's multivalent. So The second question is, how frequent will it be? Well, we don't know. It seems that we're getting immunity longer than anticipated from the current vaccines. So it may not be every year, it might be every 2 years. But if new variants emerge faster, then maybe we need a booster for the new super variants, maybe later this year or next year, which is why it's important that we are building more capacity for vaccine manufacturing, because we'll need more shots in the next couple of years.
Right. I know you don't have one more question for you. I know you don't have a crystal ball, but the third wave that is, they're saying, is going to be worse than the second even, which is worrisome. I know you don't have a crystal ball, but is there a timeline of when we can expect this third wave? And do you think in this year we're going to go back to somewhat of a return to normalcy?
Yeah, I think the third wave is upon us, absolutely. I think it'll be done by the end of spring. Unless we do stupid things to prolong it. But we're not doing stupid things. We are opening things perhaps we shouldn't be opening, but we're doing so slowly, and we're vaccinating as quickly as we can. So the secret here is not to increase our exposures and to vaccinate as quickly as we can. And that will drive down this third wave before the summer starts. And as a result, unless something really strange happens, and by which I mean we run out of vaccines or a monstrous new mutation arises, I think we're going to start seeing the semblance of normal by the summer.
It's a good thing. Well, hey, I hope this action film has a happy ending and it doesn't turn into a sci-fi horror. Raywat Deonandan, thank you as always. A pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.